So let's talk first about how this pairing came about, because Hugh, you were attached to the project first. And as I understand it, you were watching some TV show and Kate was on it?
It's this little known show, CBS Sunday Morning.
Just a little show.
I got a phone call from Michelle, who works with me. We've been friends forever, and we've been talking about, she'd read the script, and she texted me, she said, "Are you watching CBS Sunday Morning?" I said, "I'm not. Normally am." By the way, and that sounded sucky, but it's true. I normally am, and I wasn't. And she said, "You got to see it. Check out Kate. I think she's Claire." And I went, "Huh." So after I turned it on, and there was Kate promoting her debut solo album, and what I loved the way you were talking about music. I loved that you allowed the cameras to not only on stage but in the studio, and I was like, I knew you had a great voice. I already knew that, but there was something about watching you do your own stuff at this part of your life, talking about this part of your life and where you're at. I texted Craig Brewer, the writer-director, and I said, Kate Hudson is Claire, Claire is Kate. And he just said, "Oh my God, perfect." Tracy, as much as I could see it and feel it, nothing prepared me from day one of rehearsal through till the end, till I saw the movie.
What do you mean?
Of Kate's performance. Wow. Because it was like, I could feel it. You just know, I'm like, oh, she's going to be perfect, she's amazing, and I love her, and I love her as an actress. But then when there's somehow an alchemy of a part to an actress at the time, when that all comes together, magic. And it blew me away. No, that's a compliment to you, and then you just have to accept it. And there's no volley back.
I wanted to volley it back so bad.
No, that was an ace, and you just let it go.
Okay.
Well, you know what? Let's talk about the script first. And what did you love about this story?
Well, I think I'm good to talk about this because he saw the documentary before he read the script, and I read the script before I knew it was a documentary, and it read just like a great epic story that you don't see very often anymore. One that's reminiscent of movies that we love, kind of that like nostalgic feeling that it has, but it just was like the power. It had so many themes about love. Great love story, but it's also a love story to family and to music and to fandom. And then inside of this like big love story is just like these people who have so much resilience and grit. And I was like, I don't get to see these very often. And the fact that he was doing it, I thought was so exciting because, he was like the perfect Mike. And then I saw the documentary, and then I thought, wow, Craig's script was so like brilliant and wonderful because he was able to sort of condense this long period of time into, a 2-hour film, and a great read from beginning to end. That's how I felt about this.
Everything you said, I also cried when I saw the documentary. When we did our first read-through, like a table read,
it's like
everyone
insane.
was crying. But there was something about the tears that
there was a couple that were weeps. There was some weeping.
I mean, I can watch a movie like a Crime versus Crime. There's movies you can watch and you cry, but there's movies where you cry and it feels great.
Yeah.
That's what I loved about this story. I would tell everyone I came across. I was like, "What are you working on?" I said, "You've got to hear about this story. You got to, because it's so inspiring, and parts of it are going to make you cry because you're going to go on this ride, but you're going to feel great."
Yeah, that like terms of endearment type of cry.
Right.
It's a great cry.
Yeah, you're just like, oh, life,
right.
Life, love.
And then you have 13 Neil Diamond songs. Yeah. So you have that. So I've been in screenings where there's laughter, sing-along, and crying. And I was like,
How many movies can you say that about, right?
Not for me. I mean, X-Men 1, 4, and 7 had elements of that.
So clearly you were familiar with each other before this, but how well did you know each other before this project?
Not very well. We actually, it's become a bit of a joke because I remember when we first met, but she has no recollection.
I don't remember meeting him.
That's the impression I made.
Which is so weird because it was in my mom's house. It was at my parents' house. So I feel like I how could you not?
I mean, I was handing around hors d'oeuvres. But,
I was like, how could I have forgotten meeting Hugh Jackman? I mean,
but you blew in. It was in the kitchen, and you just came as she is now, like this breath of fresh air, like whoo. You were like, hi, and I'm like, hi, and it was like, oh, wow, I'm sitting at the cool kids table. This is great. And then you just
left.
Anyway, I said, do you remember? And you were like, no.
I was like, I don't remember. But you know, I kind of live life that way a little bit. I won't remember this in like a year.
Yeah. It's Hugh.
I literally when you said that, I was like, not okay.
But then
I was like,
then
I
we
need
did a
more
workshop
lion's
together
mane. Yes,
for
for
a musical, which never ended up happening.
which I did remember, and it was amazing.
Yes. We ran into each other a bit, but I've always just been a fan, and but.
Every time I'd see Hugh, like whether it be at an event or something, because you see people and it's always like, hi, how are you? But there's certain people who have a way about them. Hugh's way, that light and that like generosity and that openness, when you even just see him in passing, like then working with you became like, oh, that is everything you think Hugh is, he is that and more.
So how well do you know each other now?
Oh. Well, very well.
Very well.
Very well. Yeah.
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 Except consummating.
Yeah. No.
Beyond that, pretty much everything.
So talk about you touched on this before, but these roles, are these roles, we have to move past that now.
Yep.
Are these roles different than roles you've been offered before?
Well, yeah, for me, yeah, I don't think these scripts are around very often. So it depends on what you mean by that question.
So let me ask you specifically, because last time we talked, you said that you felt like you were put in a box as an actor and not a singer, and clearly you proved everyone wrong on that front. Do you feel like you've been put in a box as an actor, as a certain type of actor? And was this a role that maybe wasn't necessarily coming around that often?
I think, yes, absolutely. I think that's, yes, of course. I think that the second I became famous as the Andy Anderson how-to girl and rom-com kind of success, getting out of that kind of how people want to see you in that light, especially as a woman, is really hard, is very challenging. So you're constantly, looking for other things to be doing, and it's like even coming off of Almost Famous and then doing How to Lose a Guy and then doing other things that were successful, it's still like something like people can't really see you other than the things that are the big movies that you do. And so to see you as small characters or more character-driven things, which is kind of what I love to do in terms of like my art, like that's what I'd like to be doing, more things like that. It's harder for, I think, directors and studios to see you in those things when something is so bright in another area, and so it's kind of like, it's like, you honor it and you love it and you always want to do it, because I always want to do my comedies and rom-com. I love it, but then you also have to work a little bit harder to maintain some sense of like, I am also would like to do all these other things.
Not anymore.
No.
I felt with Mike, it was somehow demanding or asking of me so many different facets of the things I love to do that it's a cricket term, you don't have it in baseball. I guess Atami is a bit like it, but in cricket we say you're an all-rounder, which means you basically you pitch and you bat, you do everything. And so I like to do a bit of everything. I have a musical where I do performances, I'll host the Oscars, I'll play Wolverine in action movies. Or this had sort of, Mike's got that masculinity in a way of a Wolverine. He's like and yet he's a performer and he wears sequin, and he'll dress up, and there was singing and there was drama and there was relationship. It felt like it had everything.
You touched on this, but how tricky is it to play real life people?
Well, I think Craig, I think we had the ability to play people that are not known. They're not very well known, right? So I think Craig one of the things was we weren't married to the sort of mimicking of these characters, which I think is harder if you're playing someone that's incredibly well known. Must be, you know, a much more challenging in terms of like feeling the freedom inside certain like movements and characteristics and things like that. So but inside of that, you know, you want to honor again these people, and Claire and Mike. We had the documentary that was so great. I mean, it was such a great resource. But Craig really wanted us to trust our instincts too, to not just stay, you know, connected to like exactly the way Mike would have done it or exactly the way Claire would have done it.
You know, it's funny because you say you're playing people who aren't well known, and yet at the same time you're playing people who aren't well known, playing people who are well known.
Right.
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 It's like a
Neil Diamond, and at one point you're playing Patsy Cline, right?
Yeah.
So that's got to be, what's that process like?
It's sort of fun. That's why I was glad we were in the recording studio. I think we did it. I did it vocally because so we're both singers. We both have our own style, and so I had to kind of get rid of that, find Mike, and then find Mike finding Neil. Although he's, you know, I'm an interpreter, I'm not an impersonator. It was actually, that recording was like a rehearsal, like a finding of him for me.
Also, like an instrument, like if you have, like, I don't see my voice as like the greatest technical instrument, but in terms of performance, like I can change, like I can change my voice. I can change it to what the character is demanding of, you know, of my voice, and try to lean into a more Patsy Cline sound, lean into, you know, like the hardest thing for me was finding my own voice. Because I've done so much singing in other things, like whether it be in theater, you know, in school and theater, or singing other people's music. Finding like your own instrument that is connected to like your soul, it was a much harder thing for me than, you know, finding out how to create, like use the instrument to get certain sounds for Patsy. I loved singing those Patsy Cline songs. I wish I had like 2 more Patsy Cline.
Yeah, that was so good.
And they just did this thing at the Grand Ole Opry with, it's like 100 years, and they're doing a whole Patsy Cline thing at the Grand Ole Opry. I was really trying to get out there to sing a Patsy Cline song.
And?
I didn't have time.
Too much going on.
Maybe another time.
Yeah.
So you talked a bit about the reactions that you've seen. I know you screened it for Goldie and Kurt.
Yeah, we had, and it was LF seeing it for the first time. Anderson is amazing in this movie, who plays my daughter, his stepdaughter, and her mother. And so it was a room of about, I'd say 10 or 11 people. Brad, my publicist, my agent. You know, it was the team and my parents. And it was great. I mean, I think everybody had the same reaction. It was just a bunch of tears, and everyone loved the movie. And you know, my big thing was thinking, I was watching my mom watch it, I was like, God, because I'm so, I guess, not the glamorous version of myself, or even honestly, my version, you know, was a bit heavier and didn't see my skin person for a while. I was like, God, it must be so interesting for my mom to see her middle-aged daughter on the screen. She must have been like, oh my God, she's middle-aged.
Go ahead.
No, finish.
No.
Did they share a reaction with you? Did they say anything?
Oh, they loved the movie. They loved the movie. They loved it. They were so, they just think it's, I think amongst other people, I think they have probably a similar reaction to a lot of people are having when they see the movie. I think they love movies like this, and they just enjoyed every second, and they loved us. Yeah. Although my parents don't like that word for some reason.
Proud?
Okay.
Yeah, because it feels like it takes ownership.
I understand. Yeah,
They're like,
cool.
it's not, you know, yeah, they loved it.
I had a couple of cool reactions. First was my agent, Patrick Whitesall of 30, but he rang me, and I've never heard him so. He was like, dude, brother, I need to see it again. I'm like, I've never heard him say that before. And the other one was Neil Diamond rang, and he was teary, and he was with his wife Katie, and he just absolutely loved it. He loved the movie. He knew of the story and the documentary, and obviously he gave rights to his music, to his catalogue, and that was awesome, because of all the things we're paying homage to in this movie, of course, one of them is Neil Diamond and who he is and what he represents, him as a songwriter, him as a musician, him as an artist. And he connects to Mike. He's like, I'm from Brooklyn. I ended up being Neil Diamond, but I would still be doing it. I'd be at the local bar and I'd be doing my thing, and he loved it. That was really cool.
That's cool. He loves karaoke. As a matter of fact, I did just get a Christmas time invite to karaoke at the Diamond's house.
That is so
Because
great.
Hugh has already karaokeed
He's already
with him.
karaokeed. I have not yet.
Someone's very competitive.
And I
When you
just
say you got
found
an
a little
invite,
thing, and she
when you
was
say
like,
you got
"Are
an
you gonna be
invite,
home?
did
Come
you-
over. We can karaoke too."
Was there a pre-call like that? So I heard.
Yeah. So what's going on with this? The Hugh got to karaoke.
And I'm your neighbor. That's weird.
And you karaokeed with him, and he also gave you a kiss?
He did. On my forehead. He put his arm around me like that, and I sort of leant, and he just kissed me on the forehead. It was like, the whole night was, he walked up on the porch, we were in Colorado, and he said, "You did good, kid." And then he said, "You want to do some karaoke?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he sang first. He sang "I Dreamed a Dream." And I said, "Why did you sing that song?" And he goes, "Well, it's just such a pretty tune." And then we sang "Can't Help Falling in Love with You," and then "Sweet Caroline."
Yeah, it's so funny. He's such a national treasure, isn't he? Because he's so anthemic. Like, all his songs are such anthems. And they're songs that are played in times of celebration, especially "Sweet Caroline." I mean, whether it be in sport or in weddings or bar mitzvahs or, movies, film, different films. I was even thinking he was in The Materialists. Sweet Caroline's in that movie. But I was thinking about it, like, his music is it's so, I didn't really even know his music before we did this. I didn't, because I wasn't like, that wasn't my era of music. I was like a Madonna girl in the 80s, and then, a hip hop grunge girl in like the 90s. So Neil Diamond to me was a discovery, other than the big anthems. And when you're playing someone's music, and then you're playing other people that are playing their music, we kind of did our own interpretation of his songs. Mm-hmm. And to get sort of his love back for that is so great. I mean, what an amazing thing. His catalog is insane. He's written so many songs. And if you haven't delved into his music, like, you're gonna be shocked how prolific he is as a songwriter. So what a joy that he loved watching it. And he did also say that he feels like every decade or so that his music comes along that gives his music a new life and introduces it to a new generation. And he seemed incredibly grateful for this and excited that people were going to listen to his music again.
As you know, this film is part of the Oscars conversation. You both have been nominated before. Does it get easier or harder to be in this dance again?
My God, I feel like I was nominated back in like 1971. How long ago was that?
I have a funny story to tell about my first round. Well, my only round of being nominated. I never forget the morning of, my publicist, Alan, rang me in the morning. He goes, "How you doing, champ?" I said, "I'm good. I'm getting ready." He goes, "Great. Don't worry about writing a speech." I said, "No?" And he goes, "Yeah, don't worry about it."
What?
I said, "Just go and have a great night." And I was like, "Cool, good to know." And so we did and went along, and we got to sing One Day More, and I thought this was great. I think it's just a given. If you're nominated and there's a Daniel Day-Lewis in the category, just don't worry about writing a speech.
Was he in your category?
Yes, he was.
Oh my God! What was he not? What did he win?
Lincoln, the small little movie, Lincoln. It
You're like one.
And I said, what are you talking about? He goes,
8 years Daniel Day-Lewis does a movie and you're in that category. It's like, oh God.
curses. Does it get easier?
Yeah, does it get?
What do you think?
I think it's such a funny thing because there is like the Oscar conversation and it is this sort of campaigning of the thing in the movies and there's this whole whirlwind that you go on and you sort of become like, I remember the first time it's like, I was the class of 2001, you know? You become this sort of, you know, group of people that are going around the world and having this actually really amazing experience celebrating what people are saying are their favorite movies of the year and performances of the year. And that part feels really good because it just is like, you want to make good movies and you want people to love them. And so there's some movies that are for audiences and there are some that we make for audiences. There's some movies that are really more focused on critics and critical acclaim. And then there's some movies that might have both. And honestly, for us, like if the conversation and the hope that this movie can be something that entertains and at the same time be in that conversation is actually really special. And so I don't take any of it like lightly or for granted in any way. And and it, yeah. And also I feel like this feels like the first real year back after all of the stuff in movies, whether it be COVID, the strike, like all of a sudden there's all these great movies that are, you know, happening and the festivals were sort of ripe and full of great work. So it feels really like amazing to be a part of that right now, you know? That's...
When I was in that round for Les Mis, I remember going to the Oscar lunch. It's a great event. Every nominee is there, and every nominee gets called up. You do like a class photo. It's really cool. And one person speaks, and it was Norman Jewison got up. And he was just so cool, and I've never forgot it. He just said, listen, you're all here, you're nominated, and for the next 6 weeks, you're going to be doing so many interviews, and people are going to say, well, you're here, you got a chance, you haven't got a chance, like me, you haven't got a chance. He says, that's not the real conversation, but I understand it feels like it. But I can tell you now, from where I'm sitting in my stage of life, as someone who's won them, as someone who's lost them, it doesn't matter. What will matter are the films you're proud of. And he said, and some of them, at the time, maybe nothing. Some of them you'll win an Oscar for, but when you're my age, you may go, that's not my best. So, and I just always thought that. Now, is there a little boy in me who would like to win an Oscar? Of course. I mean, I
it's
don't
our World Series.
Right. Yeah. But I think now, at 57, being part of a movie that I am proud of now, I'm proud of it now.
Yeah.
And hopefully, when I'm, you know, at an Oscars lunch and they ask me to speak, I'll say the same speech. And you know, and who knows what movies then.
Yeah.
But to make stories and do things that move people, that make them grab their family tighter, that make them, you know, embrace life even more, or have the resilience and courage to get through a tough time, that's just magic.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember Kurt, when I lost to Marcia Gay Harden he looked. I was sort of in this interesting thing where everybody was telling me I was going to win, and
really?
Everybody, and I was like, I don't like stuff like that because for me it was like. I also have a hard time when you have all these amazing, like Ellen Bernstein, all these amazing actresses, and then you have people kind of saying, and you're like, this is not what this is about. I guess it is in some way, but really, for me personally, like, I can be very competitive when there's a ball and a net, but I am not competitive in the arts. Like, I just don't, it would be great, but like, I don't see it that way at all. And but I had so many people saying it, and I kept saying, like, stop, don't say that, you know, you never know. And then I lost, and Kurt kind of leaned, I remember he leaned over and he goes, well, now you can go have your career. And I was like, I thought that was such an interesting thing to say, because it's like, welcome to the whirlwind. Welcome to what this is. Now just go be an actress.
Go work.
Yeah, just go to work. And that's how I see it. It's like you take it in. If you do feel humble in it, I think it is humbling. And I know that sounds funny, but I guess for some people it's humbling. For me, it feels humbling to like even be in the conversation. But the work is where it's at for me always, isn't it?
Totally.
Yeah. Well,
but I think of you growing up, seeing one on the mantle.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't.
There was one
it.
sitting
I wouldn't
there
touch
your
it.
whole life.
And you didn't touch it?
No, I don't want to touch it. No, not till I get one.
Have you not touched it?
No, I can't touch it. No, it's like the Stanley Cup. Like you don't touch the award unless you got the award. That's the one.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
That's awesome.
Yeah, cut to like some picture of me somewhere.
Yeah.
Like totally. I'm like, I must have had
remember
a couple drinks.
Was that the party where Hugh Jackman was there? I don't remember anything.
That wasn't me. That is AI.